Hi, I'm Guy Powell, and welcome to the next episode of The Backstory on the Shroud of Turin. If you haven't already done so, please visit guypowell.com and sign up for more episodes. I am the author of the upcoming book, The Only Witness, a historical fiction tracing a possible history of the Shroud over the last 2 millennia. Today, we're speaking with Tristan Casabianca, a syndenologist who has done some amazing research into the carbon-14 dating fiasco, as well as the Prague Codex. So let me tell you a little bit about Tristan. Tristan lives in Ajaccio, France. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, quite good.
And okay. And but he studied law, economics, and public administration. And he's written a handful of papers, including The Shroud of Turin, a historiographical approach, Turin Shroud, Resurrection and Science, One View of the Cathedral, Radiocarbon Dating of the Turin Shroud, New Evidence from Raw Data, the ongoing historical debate about the Shroud of Turin, and the referring to the case of the Prague Codex. And he's spoken at a handful of international conferences on the Shroud, and his articles have won awards from Archaeometry for being the most downloaded. So welcome, Tristan. So glad to have you.
Yeah, hi, Guy. It's great to be with you.
Thank you. So tell us, what is your backstory on getting involved in the Shroud of Turin?
So I was born in Corsica in 1982, and it's a small island in the Mediterranean that I left when I was 18. So it's an island where almost every day I saw an Italian island called Elba from Bastia, the city where I grew up. And I was brought up, one can say, in an environment that is quite Italophile. And step by step, I learned a lot from this experience that led me to have to meet many artists, directors who came to my home to meet my parents in particular. And I also traveled, thanks to my parents, in Italy. And the first time I think I heard about the Shroud of Turin, I was about 16 or 17 years old. And at that time, I was not a Christian at all. I was raised in a family that was not Christian at all, so I was not baptized. So I was living inside this atheist family. I was opposed, you could say, to Christianity. And in our house, I had come across an esoteric book, which was very successful at the time. And in retrospect, I think I can say that it was very bad. And it talked about the Shroud of Turin as having carried the image of the Grand Master of the Temple Order, whose name was Jacques de Molay, who was buried in the early 16th century. And at a time, I think it seemed pretty plausible to me. But I have to say that's a little memory I have of it, because I didn't really care much about it. And so I left. I went on my way, leaving Corsica. I studied history at the Sorbonne, and gradually I became interested in Christianity. I became interested in the Shroud of Turin. At the beginning, I did it rather through esotericism, which interested me rather, and through the history of esotericism. And so in the beginning, I was really interested in understanding how this belief of esotericism could turn out to be, let's say, believed by some people. What were the mechanisms, but also the mechanisms that played in me, because it really interested me. And little by little, I was led to remember the Shroud of Turin, and I studied it more and more in depth. And in particular, thanks to the emergence of a tool that did not exist when I was 16 to 17 years old, which was the internet. And I had access from then on, when I was a student, to all the biggest libraries in Paris. And then when I went down for my law studies in Aix-en-Provence and to the libraries of Aix-en-Provence, it is there that I was able thanks to the internet and thanks to the libraries to which I had access, to really make a culture about the Shroud of Turin and to read thoroughly all the studies. And so I